ELD stands for English Language Development, and so English learners are people who've come from another country, and they're very smart. They bring their intelligence with them, but the only thing they're missing is speaking English as a native would, and that's what we're here to help them with in ELD.
And pride, you know that it's for you or for the student. So history isn't important. You have many.
I keep traveling a lot in the summer, and I keep going to India. I've been to Mexico many times, and I have started to think about students who are like my family members. Who actually couldn't do well in life mainly because they didn't have English skills, and how I was successful compared to them only because I had English skills. And so then I started thinking about, what happens to students who come from other countries, who are extremely smart, speak another language, but they never fit into the school because of this language problem. And I started becoming interested in that.
I think that a lot of people associate the world in terms of our world knowledge oftentimes with the food we eat. You can imagine a person of my size and stature doesn't mind eating some good food every once in a while. So initially my world knowledge, especially working with the students who primarily were from the Middle East, Palestine, Israel area, Brazil, as well as a variety of different countries and languages and cultures. I met students who were Nepalese, some who were from West Africa, or from South American countries that in their transition back up to the U.S. into California, it was them feeling like they moved into almost a international class that was still separate from regular education. So they almost felt like they were kind of being looked at as less than. And so something I know that was really important for a teacher in the ELD class to remind them of is that they're still young, they're still teenagers, and whether they identify themselves as American or if they identify themselves as attending American education while still preserving their own heritage and culture from back home, that it was still important for them to gain a strong sense of what was the academic expectation as well as rigor, getting prepared obviously for going off to either to college or for the profession.
I speak Punjabi. I feel so great to be an ELD student. Having a teacher like Miss Bose. Yeah. Having fun every single day and study. So good. That was the best time I had in ELD. And spending my time in ELD class was like most important things of my life. And having friends and chilling and doing study.
I had Miss Bo's ELD class in freshman year, and I have a good work. And take Miss Bowles to teach me how to English, ELD.
Just as human beings, they're a silent minority, and I would like them to be a more vocal minority because they're awesome students, they're awesome people.
The ELD student is really hard because they just come from another country, they're trying to learn English, and there's a lot of difficulties they have to go through, but they're still trying their best to do it. And then if people help them out, it will be easier for them in their life, and then they can progress on and learn English. I mean, it's not like they're just like different people, they're the same people, So we should just like all treat them equally.
ELD students are trying to accomplish two things at the same time. They are trying to acquire a level of academic English to where they can perform well in each of their classes, primarily core, right, with your English, science, social science, and math, but also they want to be able to develop a strong school community, and I think that it's important that not only being able to speak English proficiently at an academic level, but also being able to check in and communicate with peers at a level, regardless of accent, regardless of if you speak it at home or not, you could still feel like you are a member of the school community without feeling in the margin, marginalized, or feel separated or isolated, or to feel different. I know El Cerritos, we're very big on cultural diversity, and more importantly, welcoming all in terms of the various talents and life stories that we have to tell.
You are shy for good reasons. If you can't speak a language and then you're in a school where you're being graded all the time, you got an A in this, you got a D in this, you got an F in this. If you don't understand the language, you're going to get an F in everything because you can't follow the instructions. And it's not your fault. And the first thing you feel is you feel inferior, you feel stupid, and a lot of students feel angry. Because you were doing well in your own country, your parents snatched you away at a time, middle of the school year, and brought you here, or whenever they got the paperwork done for you. So I would say that shyness or being afraid is something that's not going to go away. You can't teach a kid not to be shy. They're only going to stop being shy if they have the language skills. I've noticed people change. As soon as they've learned a few English phrases, the kid's personality has changed. So some of the things I like to teach my ELD ones is catchphrases. Hey, how you doing? How's the weather? Give me a smile. How you doing? I like your jacket. Excuse me, you're welcome. Just being able to say these things make them feel they belong.
Aside from speaking English, I can read and speak a bit of Hebrew, a bit of French, and a bit of Spanish, but not enough of all of those to be proficient to where I could effectively communicate. And the truth is, a number of my students didn't speak those languages. They spoke a variety of other languages: Arabic, Urdu, Portuguese, Vietnamese. I regularly had to ask for clarification, and more importantly, when they had a hard time maybe transitioning words or phrases that made sense to them into the English language, sometimes if I didn't have their language to English dictionary, or if we couldn't use a resource like a computer, an online dictionary, there would be sometimes things that were lost in translation. Luckily, I think that we were both patient with one another, and I'd say while it was tough, also bringing in the writer-coach connection, where we had adult tutors who would come in and help the students with writing, was at first a barrier, and then by the end I felt highly beneficial for both groups because they had both adults and kids who were working with others that they ordinarily had not. Yeah, adults and kids work together regularly, but proficient English writers working with students who are eager to learn the language and express and articulate themselves through the writing craft, there was an immediate disconnect. And through those exercises and through them building both relationships and I think a certain level of trust, we saw these young minds, these young students, these young voices really grow, not only vocally but also on paper.
Ana Miranda, the beautiful young lady from Brazil. Yeah, when Ana came to my class, I think Ana was still dealing with the fact that she was in a wheelchair, and she was the only one in my class in a wheelchair. But Ana was always, whether her grammar was right or wrong, Ana always wanted to be heard. And that's the first thing I noticed about her. She had a point of view. She would raise her hand. She would get impatient if I didn't let her speak when her hand was raised. Oh, she's still talking.
Oh, stop talking. Oh, she's talking again.
And that let me know that here is a girl who's determined to be heard. And by the time the first semester was over, what was I telling you, Ana? Ana, you have leadership. You need to be a leader. May 23rd is our World Languages Night. Last year I realized that ELD doesn't have any events, and since this is not an ELD school, it's like we don't have a huge parent participation like other schools that have huge number of immigrant students. They have tons of ELD events where the parents pitch in, they're selling tamales, they're musicians, fathers come in, they give a speech or whatever. So I saw that World Languages has events, 2 events, and they're to showcase the students in the world languages. So I kind of joined in with them, and they were very welcoming. So May 23rd is a day or an evening in the cafeteria where the Spanish, the French, the Japanese, and ELD students have an event together. There's food, it's a free event, and so I'm trying to get my kids to do a fashion show. I think the school or people in education need to be educated about who the ELD students are. And I think they're the most underserved minority. And that is so unfair because they are as part of the school as the athletic team, the drama clubs, the special ed, the languages, they're as important. But if you ask most people, what do you think the life of an ELD student is like? They can't tell you. I know that for a fact because I couldn't tell you that when I was an English teacher. I didn't know what ELD students, their lives were. I knew the lives of African Americans, of Hispanic children, of girls, of transgender. But until I became an ELD teacher, I had no idea that there was all this stuff going on in the lives of ELD students. From feeling you have to work because your mother got sent back or your father's out of a job. These are not stories that are addressed in the school curriculum. And they are as part of American life and culture as anybody else is.
बच्चे क्यूट हैं हाँ